I got up out of habit. I graduated from school the week before, but I kept the same sleep schedule. I left my room and saw my brothers, two very restless twins, arguing over who should wear the cap I'd given them. Neither of you is putting it on today, because they'll take it away at school. I'm keeping it. I took the cap away from Christian, and Pablo jumped trying to reach it. I just moved it over their heads without much effort. I put the cap on myself and went on my way. I went to the kitchen, poured some of the previous night's coffee into a small pot, and put it on to heat. I checked the time. It was 7:30. My mom hadn't left her room. I poured 2 coffees, one for me and one for her, and walked slowly toward her room, trying not to spill the drink. When I was close enough, I heard a very soft crying. I knocked on the door. "Coming, son, wait for me." I could hear her wiping away her tears. "Look, Mom, what's wrong?" Nothing, son, thank you." She took a sip of coffee, her gaze glassy and lost. She fixed her hair. She was dressed in her work uniform, a navy blue blouse with matching pants. Her hairnet was crooked. "Aren't you working today, Mom?" "No, son, they just told me. They're laying people off." Her voice faltered, and she let the words out carefully, like someone expecting disappointment. "The kids are already ready," I said. "I'll take them to school, and we'll figure things out." I gave her a hug and a kiss on the forehead. "Let's go to school, then." "What's wrong with Mommy?" "Nothing, she just woke up feeling sick." "Don't bother her, just say goodbye and walk, we're already late." We went down the stairs carefully. The cold coming in from under the door froze my arms. I undid the latches and the door opened with a loud creak. I closed the door and walked with the twins by the hand to the school, which was a few blocks away. I saw a sign tacked to a post, urgently hiring, and a phone number. I dropped the kids off at the entrance and said goodbye to each of them. I bought a cigarette from a candy stand and walked slowly back home. I wrote down the job number, maybe something like that could help my mom. When I got home, the door was half open. I went upstairs, and on the table was a note that said, "Son, in the drawer there's a tin of sardines and a pound of rice. Make lunch for the kids. See you tonight." The handwriting was shaky. I grabbed a piece of bread and ate it with black coffee while watching the news. The economy is improving and the country is becoming safer. I turned up the music. It's another night when I start talking in my sleep. The demons have slowly climbed up to my belly button, taking advantage of my mom not being there, and I started sweeping and tidying up the house. While cleaning, I found a crumpled note under the bed. "You need to pay me my shit or I'm going to return your little runs to you in pieces in a trash bag." My hands trembled. The note was a sheet of notebook paper written with a carpenter's red pencil, pressed hard, with rage. I tried calling the job number. No one answered. I kept on with the chores and checked my phone every so often to call again. Around 12, I put rice on to cook and mixed it with the sardines, fried some plantain slices, and made lemonade with vanilla. I picked up the kids and gave them lunch, then sat with them to watch TV and helped them with homework until nightfall. Around 7, My mom came home, her face even sadder than in the morning. She didn't say anything, just went into her room and closed the door. I called the potential job number. I didn't think they'd answer so late, but they did. They told me to show up at 6 a.m. at the town square. I fixed myself up as best I could, covered my tattoos, and took out my piercings. I wanted to make a good impression. Before leaving, I went to say goodbye to the kids. They were still asleep. I put the cap on Christian's head. I went to my mom's room. She was asleep, her clothes from the day before bunched up in a ball on top of the blankets. I found a wool blanket and carefully covered her. I went out into the street while it was still dark and walked in silence, shivering from the morning cold toward the square. When I arrived, several young people were sitting in the square, silent and downcast. They were all more or less the same age, some schoolmates, others buddies I'd seen from a distance at parties. A white Mustang with orange stripes pulled up, followed by a van-type truck. From the car stepped a bearded guy in his 30s, and a young woman, a little over 20, with a notebook and a pen. All right, young ones, line up. We all lined up on the sidewalk of the square, about 30 of us. They started asking one by one, age and illnesses. Anyone who mentioned an illness was disqualified and could leave. When it was my turn, I tried to say firmly, 18 and none, sir. Good tone. The woman with the pen lifted my chin and tapped my arm. She jotted something in her notebook. Her scent was loud and sweet, very unpleasant. After interviewing everyone, they loaded the chosen ones onto the truck. When they closed the door, it went completely dark. I felt a punch in my chest mixed with a horrible bitterness in my mouth. The trip lasted several hours in darkness, and everyone's murmurs were nervous. The closeness of bodies was uncomfortable. We bumped into each other because we couldn't steady ourselves, but no one dared say anything. When they opened the truck doors, there were 12 people, all wearing hoods and with an inverted triangle tattooed on their necks. At the sight, one of the young men let out a nervous laugh. One of the hooded figures approached and tore the skin off his own right arm in a single motion. His hand turned into a moving worm with pincers. As a battle gesture, he placed the worm on the young man's head and cut off his head. His body fell to its knees and then straight to the ground. Blood spurted and stained his pants. Any other jokers? We were paralyzed. My body felt like jelly, and the pressure in my head was overwhelming. They classified us by our abilities. Those who couldn't read were taken first to what they called the pit. Then they examined our bodies, and everyone with birthmarks was also taken to the pit. When they saw that I had tattoos, they were about to take me, but the young woman now hooded said, "I want this one." She took me to a shack and said, "Take off your clothes." I obeyed. I was very cold and scared. Haha, what a cute little thing. So big, and your friends so small. But that can be fixed. She knelt down, gathered her hair, and started sucking carefully. My body responded. Her agitated breathing stopped. She smiled maliciously. She turned around, pulled down her pants, positioned my member, and began slamming her body against mine while touching herself. I couldn't move. My hands trembled and my body felt frozen. She finished with an intense moan. She pulled up her pants and left the shack. This one might last. She shouted, and 3 men came in. They forced me to swallow a handful of transparent pearls. They took me to the pit. Inside was a creature as big as a house. It was surrounded by precious stones, gold, money, jewels, sacred books, and blood, lots of blood. Its skin was slimy, and it had a mouth like a meat grinder. They tied me up near the creature, and every so often the creature released fluids that burned the skin. I don't remember how long I was there. Days passed without eating or drinking. They came to check on me once a day. One day, the woman came with the other men. They examined my entire body, and with a knife they cut my arm a little. I could see that inside there was a worm. My arm was no longer my arm. They untied me and gave me food and lots of liquor. More days passed in which I only ate and drank heavily. If I tried to stop drinking, they forced me. At night, they took me to exchanges with men and women. My body beat.